We know that there is a crisis in the marriage. We know that there's a professional split. We know this is the first thing they've done in a long time. So there was a lot riding on this. And it's like, that was the best performance you could give us
Oh, Dan,
of a
come on.
happy couple.
He does give her a hug at the end, doesn't he? He puts his arm around her at the very last second, and it looked like that he was waiting to get bitten, really. It was so stiff and so uncomfortable. You could just about see his arm, and she doesn't move. She doesn't reciprocate. And it was, I think he said the words together. And as he said that, it's like, right, that's my cue. Move arm around wife. There we go. Honestly,
So you're not convinced?
I'm not very convinced. As I said, I think there'd be more warmth between two polar bears, really.
Breaking right now, outrage that Prince Harry continues to ignore the mother of Pat Tillman and is using the memory of her late son for positive PR, seemingly working with Pat Tillman's widow, Marie Tillman. So let me explain. This is because Harry turned up to an event for Pat Tillman and his charity, despite the fact that Mary Tillman, Pat's mother, has been incredibly clear that she believes Harry is using the connection to her son to push his own personal PR. Do you remember when she won that award, she said, "I am shocked as to why they would select such a controversial and divisive individual to receive the award." She said, "There are recipients that are far more fitting." She said, "There are individuals working in the veteran community that are doing tremendous things to assist veterans." And what's so interesting, and thank God that's why we have the independent media, the MSM are completely ignoring this story because they don't want to put out these negative stories about Prince Harry. It has been covered by the Royal Observer online. There's been a small amount on social media. But what is really going on? Royal YouTube sensation Tasha Canal, according to Taz, joins me now. How disrespectful can you get, Tash?
Honestly, he's completely tone deaf. He talks about he hates the negative criticism that he receives, but then he does something like this. It isn't just Pat Tillman's mother either. I mean, I think it was over 85,000 people signed the petition to say that Harry is not the right person to be accepted, well, being given this awards. Because what Pat Tillman stood for, this is a man that had a hugely successful American football career. I mean, he was in the big leagues, money-wise and everything. He gave up all of that fame, all of that celebrity to fight for his country, and he lost his life in service. And then that award is then meant to go to people that go over and above, people that have saved people's lives. You know, they've gone that little bit further. And Harry just doesn't tick any of those boxes. The award going to him, I think, just shows that anyone can pretty much buy an award. And I think Harry has just added another undeserving accolade to his ever increasing pile of trinkets.
Why has there been no mainstream media coverage of this, Tasha? Are they protecting him? I mean, we obviously saw a couple of the PR-heavy publications, including Marie Claire, say, "Oh, this was a great thing." But it's almost as if there's an operation to try and shield Harry from negative PR at the moment.
Yes, I'm definitely seeing that. This is where I do think some of the rumours of a separation being more than just their working projects, because they are still very much gunning for Meghan. And don't get me wrong, Meghan has done some pretty deplorable things, but Harry stood alongside her. If anything, Harry has behaved far worse because it was his family that he sold out for his 30 pieces of silver. So I can see a definite shift now that they still seem to be happy to ridicule Meghan, anything that comes up. And to be fair, she does give us a lot of material, and that's all of her own doing. But Harry just seems to be getting an easier ride. Now, I'm not so sure how deep it goes, because I do not believe that Prince William will ever forgive his brother. And I can't see that Queen Camilla would allow Harry to get close to his father at this very important time in Charles's life where he's still undergoing cancer treatment. Harry had a brief chance to meet his father and he sold out and did an interview the next day. It was only because Charles was a bit sensible and didn't tell him too much when he saw him that Harry wasn't selling every single detail to it was the interview over at the Whistler in Canada. Harry cannot be trusted, but there is definitely some sort of, I would say, PR machine, whether it's crisis management, that are working on Harry. And there seems to be a lot more people working on him in comparison to Meghan.
I just feel so sorry for Mary Tillman.
Yeah, it's got to be really awful for her.
It's her son. It's her son. She doesn't want her son's memory tainted by Harry. She made that incredibly clear, but Harry doesn't give a damn. He has absolutely no respect. He will even railroad over the mother of a war hero like that. And I think it is just so completely despicable. Now, speaking of PR spin, though, Tasha, the other thing we had this week was the first public appearance of Harry and Meghan in 3 months. It was awkward on so many levels, partly because of this completely cringe body language, partly because of the fact that the woke mumbo jumbo was out in force more than ever before, and also partly because they hoped it would make a big stir, but actually everyone saw it, including the MSM, and just thought, my goodness, we are not convinced by this display. So I'll get your reaction in just one moment, but in case you didn't see it, here's the robotic return of Harry and Meghan, loved up campaigners.
Thank you to both the Colombian and Swedish governments, the World Health Organization, UNICEF, and the Special Representative of the Secretary General on Ending Violence Against Children for bringing us all together today. The first ever ministerial conference on ending violence against children comes at a crucial time and, quite frankly, should not be required. But here we are. We are at a crossroads where the urgency to reassess and redefine our approach to protecting children has become increasingly evident. While the necessity has always been apparent, it is now time to translate that awareness into meaningful action. So we thank you all for your attention to this critical issue.
My husband and I recognize today's reality is marked by greater connectivity and advanced technology, which of course has many positives, but which also compels us to better understand how digital violence against children is manifesting itself in this age. And at the Archwell Foundation, we engage with young people, families, and experts worldwide, learning how every aspect of a child's life, from their livelihood to their physical and mental well-being, now operate within an online economy that has the power to both shape and misshape our connections.
Oh, Tasha, are you convinced?
I would be, I mean, the robotic is definitely quite obvious there. I mean, they might as well just not record it themselves. It could be AI. You would probably see more depth, more genuine emotion, more warmth if it was AI. I have seen more convincing AI videos. You know, they're so completely stiff, so wooden, so scripted. There's no personality.
Both the Colombian, thank you to the first ever ministerial conference on ending violence against children comes at a crucial time. And quite frankly,
It's just, what did you say there, Dan? I mean, honestly, he's so wooden. He's like a puppet. Meghan might well be using him as a ventriloquist dummy at that point, because it's also Meghan's words coming out of his mouth as well. He talks like her. He says the same word salad. It's all that Californian, no disrespect to Californians, but that particular drivel, that particular, I don't really know what you call
woke,
it. Silicon
I
Valley
describe
lovey.
it as woke mumbo jumbo. But what's so interesting is that they're standing side by side, but they're disconnected, aren't they? And we know that there is a crisis in the marriage. We know that there's a professional split. We know this is the first thing they've done in a long time. So there was a lot riding on this. And it's like, that was the best performance you could give us?
Oh, Dan, come on.
He does. Couple?
He does give her a hug at the end, doesn't he? He puts his arm around her at the very last second. And it looked like that he was waiting to get bitten, really. It was so stiff and so uncomfortable. You could just about see his arm. And she doesn't move. She doesn't reciprocate. And it was, I think he said the words together. And as he said that, it's like, right, that's my cue. Move arm around wife. There we go. Honestly,
So you're not convinced?
I'm not very convinced. As I said, I think there'd be more warmth between two polar bears, really.
It's interesting, isn't it? Now, it's been a disastrous week for Harry, Tasha, and we say that quite a lot at the moment. But despite this early spin that Spare is back at the top of the charts and everyone's buying into it despite the fact there's no new words, in fact, you have bombshell figures, Tash, showing that the paperback edition is actually a massive disaster. It's a flop.
Yeah. Only
Take me through it.
3,400 copies sold in the second week. And I'm honestly convinced that 3,999 of those were possibly sold to a desperate person in Montecito, you know? It was bad anyway the first time round. I mean, the initial burst of everybody that was lapping up the gossip, and then most people realised it was an immature burn book. And, you know, Harry didn't release anything new, like you said, which is very unusual for a book to be released to then have the paperback. And he also didn't go on any sort of book tour with it. He did no further interviews to try and further promote the book. Some have said the boring saying, the one that we've heard so many times, it's Harry's olive branch to his family. And you think to yourself, oh, that's really magnanimous of him. I just don't think he's got a lot more that he can say or he can add. I mean, it's one of the good things with the royal family now cutting them off, because they're not giving him an opportunity to have any further material to put in books.
I know. It's so interesting, isn't it? Because I'm like, I just don't view it as an olive branch. And
no,
I do not believe that William views it as an olive branch either, because the reality is, Tasha, okay, there aren't new lies in the book, but all of the old lies are still there. All of the horrible claims suggesting that William is some sort of violent bully, which is utterly ridiculous, they're all still there. All of the suggestions that Charles was some sort of horrible and distant father, they're all still there. All of the claims that Catherine, who is still very unwell, is a bitch, are all still there. Harry hasn't removed any of that. So actually, for me, the olive branch would have been saying, no, I'm going to take a massive financial hit and I'm going to tell the publisher no paperback edition whatsoever. He didn't do that.
No, he didn't, because it does, and it always has come down to money. I mean, I think if Harry had any sort of genuine moments of where he felt sorry for anything that he's done or he said, it was always, and I know we don't like to bring him up, but Omid Scobie with Endgame, knowing that Catherine was battling cancer, knowing that his father was battling cancer, Harry could have put out a statement at any point to try and deflect from Endgame, where Omid said they were the royal racists, but he allowed that to be whipped up into a frenzy by the Sussex squad, by all of the people that support Harry and Meghan and all these allegations of racism and that, and he allowed it. And I just think that is, honestly, it's one of the most disgusting things. It was bad enough, obviously, with the Queen and Prince Philip, but he's allowed this narrative many years later to continue. All he did was trying to dig himself out of a hole when he bamboozled Tom Bradby, where you saw his brain almost shut down when Harry said, I've never called my family racist. When did you hear me say that, Tom? You saw Tom Bradby like...
Yeah, but Tom Bradby is a sorry excuse for a journalist. He is a
complete
propagandist.
Traitor.
Because the fact that Tom Bradby didn't actually call Harry out is because Harry is his friend. And he has lost William as a friend because he has been pumping out via Woke ITV so much pro-Harry and Meghan propaganda now for so many years. So I'm sorry, I don't view Tom Bradby as a journalist. I view him as a propagandist. And the thing is, what we know, Tasha, is that the journalists... the journalists who decided to screw their own reputations in order to pump out pro-Harry and Meghan propaganda are no longer trusted. No one trusts the word Oprah Winfrey has to say anymore. We know she wasn't a journalist. That interview was embarrassing. And the same thing, in my view, now applies to Tom Bradby. And actually, all of these people should be very, very cautious before they agree to interview Harry and Meghan again, because it only ends up badly for you. Because they say, oh yeah, nothing to see here. We never we never started an international hunt for the royal races. Yeah. What rubbish. We know what you did.
Yeah, it's true. And I mean, Tom Bradby, again, I mean, he was part of that first initial Harry and Meghan going to Africa. I'm not okay. Nobody asked if I'm okay. Harry talking about on a different path. So yeah, there's so many people that have defended Harry and Meghan despite the number of lies that they've been caught out on. And the problem is, it's not just the media manipulated what Harry and Meghan said. It was their own mouth moving. It was their own words that they wrote or they spoke. We've got so many TV interviews of Harry growing up, talking of his love for his family and his admiration for even, you know, his now, what he classed as, you know, his evil, wicked stepmother. And Catherine, there was so much love Harry had for his family that we can at any point go on YouTube or watch old documentaries and you can see it. But then Harry just completely changed, didn't he?
Oh, he did. Oh, he did. Now, speaking of the Sussex squad, who you mentioned earlier, of course, they have done everything possible to overshadow a very lovely and special announcement from Catherine, the Princess of Wales. We'll discuss that in just 1 minute, so don't go anywhere, according to Taz. But first, we're partnered with Gundry MD to share this information with you. Would you believe me if I told you that inside your pantry right now is one of the healthiest foods on the planet? Yep, it's true. And it's not some weird, trendy superfood. Spoiler alert, it's olive oil. Now, you're probably used to cooking with it, but there are countless ways to use olive oil to help make yourself feel and look younger. For example, olive oil is a natural way to help you achieve a more youthful appearance. Besides helping you look younger on the outside, it's a fantastic tool for your insides as well. According to Dr. Stephen Gundry, a famous cardiothoracic surgeon, nutrition expert, and health advocate, you should get as much high-quality olive oil into your daily routine as possible, whether it's taking a shot of it daily or keeping a bottle of it in your bathroom medicine cupboard. But what kind of olive oil is best for your health? Well, any olive oil can give you some benefits, but if you're looking to get the best results, it matters a lot which one you pick. The olive oil industry is huge. You can tell by the number of olive oil brands you see at the grocery store, and you can bet they're not all made with the consumer in mind. And many brands may even cut corners one way or another to increase profits. So when Dr. Gundry came to this realization, he was appalled. But some olive oils are so powerful, it may only take a few tablespoons a week to see these incredible health benefits. So, how can you tell between an olive oil that can be a health booster and which one isn't up to par? In an effort to answer that question, Dr. Gundry has decided to take a stand and release his personal research and findings. This video has gone viral since its release, and it's important you see it so you can start benefiting immediately. You can watch the video right now by going to getolive1.com/outspoken or by clicking the link in the description box below. So that's getolive1.com/outspoken, or just click on the link in the description box below. That's probably easier. People who have taken his advice have shared their results with him, saying the olive oil they bought after learning his simple rules have helped change their lives. So make sure you go to getolive1.com/outspoken or click on the link in the description box below. But now, back to the show. Breaking right now, Catherine, the Princess of Wales, will host her annual carols event for Christmas this year, which is such lovely news. Really good news. News that should be embraced. But the announcement has sadly been completely overshadowed by the growing nastiness from the Sussex squad towards the future Queen, who was slammed by Meghan Markle ally Narinder Kaur, one of Kate's biggest trolls in the world, for her aging looks. Now, as if to prove my point, the point I've been arguing this week, that Narinder is a full-blown member of the Sussex Squad, constantly targeting Catherine with lies and hate. She posted today regarding the resignation of the Archbishop of Canterbury, trying to turn this into a pro-Meghan story. She said, "It's telling that Welby's failure to act on abuse has been swept under the rug, while Meghan Markle, who has been subjected to constant racism, is still vilified. Let's be clear, she's the victim, not the problem." Now, Narinder has already tried to blame racism and sexism for the outcry after she posted, genuine question, why has Kate aged so much? Isn't she only 42? Is she a smoker? It's the only explanation. This was the argument she made.
All right, let Narinder answer. You blamed the response on racism, Narinder.
Well, I blamed it on racism and misogyny and sexual humiliation.
But since that interview, it has emerged that Narinder has targeted Catherine in unhinged social media rants multiple times, despite claiming she never trolled the princess. So, Tash Canal, I know you are completely outraged by this. And I know some people just think, well, you've got to ignore it. But actually, you know my position on the Sussex Squad right since I've gone independent, and they played such a big part in trying to get me cancelled. I'm not going quietly with the Sussex Squad. I expose their bad behaviour. I expose what they do. And the problem is, Narinder said so many times, I've never been a troll to Catherine, and we've now seen the evidence, haven't we, Tasha? She has been one of the biggest trolls against Catherine, spreading lies, spreading claims that Catherine is racist. I mean, it's just awful, the stuff that's been spread by Narinder about Catherine.
Yes, this whole storyline this week, I've tried to avoid it just for the simple fact that I think what Narinder did was very deliberate. I think that it was an attention-seeking stunt. It's rage baiting, rage farming. She knows that Catherine had cancer, and she also knows that it would trigger a lot of people because there's very few of us in our lives now that haven't either lost someone or loved someone that's experienced cancer and the long-term effects of having treatment. So it was done to upset as many people as possible, but more importantly, as I said, rage farming. She has now had more attention in the past week than she possibly ever had at the height of her career when she was, well, I don't really know what Narinder really did, but, you know, she's obviously someone that loves the attention, and she's quickly flipped it. She's done this whole thing that I'm a victim. And I found that absolutely disgusting because I have seen a lot of tweets of hers where she has been racist. She has been racist to a lot of other people. She says the most derogatory things. And I just generally think that she's a very unkind person on social media. And for her,
she's linked Catherine to the Ku Klux Klan.
She has. KKK Kate, she called her, and lots of other things. She's been particularly vile. And she even one post, now this is after Catherine, I believe it was, had said that she got cancer. She found it still a way to do the most vicious post where she said that Princess Diana would have loved everybody and Princess Diana was this, and she really blew up Princess Diana. And then she said, but Kate's the opposite. Catherine's the opposite. You know, she calls her Kate, and it was just, it's the way her posts, they're just purely venomous. And she was part of the Where's Kate? And then she tried to spread that William was potentially behind hurting Catherine. That's why she disappeared. And there's lots of things that she said where she is definitely, I would say, one of the, not just a defender of Meghan. There are people that have defended Meghan, which you can do, but then you've got the trolls that go out and they spend their time just attacking the royal family and specifically Catherine. And I just find it honestly so angering and upsetting. I've had to really keep my cool on social media with regards to
Sorry, I'm forcing you to talk about it today, Tash. Well, look, it did divide opinion. I knew there would be people who criticised me, but you know my view is never to deplatform. Always, I think
she needed calling out.
Sunlight is the best disinfectant. And actually, I want to share with you what Lady Colin Campbell had to say about this, because obviously we both respect Lady C a huge amount. And she, by the way, Lady C's so good on X at the moment. I really recommend everyone follows her. But she wrote, I would like to commend the member of my YouTube channel who brought the interview of Dan Wootton last night with Narinder Kaur and P. Dina to my attention. I congratulate the three of them for the way they behaved. Dan and P. Dina held her to account not only for her mean-spirited comment about the Princess of Wales, but about her race baiting on behalf of Meghan Markle. And Lady C goes on, to give Miss Kerr her due, after much resistance, she had the good grace to throw her hands up and admit that she was wrong. I had never heard of Narinder Kaur before. She is the president of the Flat Earth Society and the high priestess of the Sacred Order of Meganian Race Victimization. It's such a pity when someone who seems like a basically decent individual views the world through a distorting prism, thereby allowing anyone to criticize or hold to account anyone of colour, no matter how glaring their wrongdoing, then turning things around and converting just criticism into non-existent racism, when in fact all the critic is doing is acknowledging bad behaviour. If you want half an hour of entertainment, I suggest you go to Dan Wootton Outspoken. Hopefully this will be the beginning of Narinder Kaur viewing wrongdoers according to their conduct instead of their colour. And I just thought Lady C summed it up perfectly. Just before I get your reaction, Tasha, I want to show just a little bit of the clash with Narinder Kaur that Lady C was talking about. And of course, you can view it in full after this discussion on my YouTube channel.
Kensington Palace put out a lot of misinformation. I am not the only. You guys, everybody in Britain was demonising Catherine.
No, I wasn't.
Where's Catherine? Where they
No. I was doing completely the opposite, actually. Go back and look at what I said at the time. I was saying she's really ill and all of these fools need to lay off her.
Well, so did I, actually. So I said, actually, we don't stop going on about editing the pictures. You found certain tweets, but you haven't. This is the thing. You go by your narrative. There are lots of tweets out there where I've admired Kate. I haven't been a fan of William and Kate, and I am
You're a troll
fan
of them.
Harry Meghan.
You're a troll of them. And
So
that's why you decided to raise her looks after 6 months of chemo. By the way, Narinder, you've got absolutely no evidence that Catherine is a smoker. How dare you suggest that? Because it's almost as if you're trying to say it's her fault that she's got cancer. And you're even trying to say she doesn't have cancer. I mean, this is so wrong, Narinder. How can you see this is not so morally wrong?
Yes, the Sky News, as you said, Sky News, I did read that and think it's pre-cancerous. There's so much misinformation. I'm not trolling Catherine. When I put that tweet out, trust me, it wasn't the best tweet, but I was thinking of smoking. I always gone about smoking to all my friends and family. I said to customers in the shop, don't buy cigarettes, they're not good for you. They're a waste of money. They can give you cancer.
You had no idea that Catherine smoked.
There's pictures of Catherine. She used to smoke.
In 2007. No, Narinder. In 2007, there is a picture of Catherine with a packet of cigarettes in her bag. You have no evidence that she has ever touched a cigarette.
No, there is evidence out there. And Dan actually was closed the magazine in France, and there was shut down that she was smoking on holiday. So that was where, and also there's a question mark. So when people, the whole world has come at me, right, put my hands up. I'll take criticism, but I will not take racism, sexism, misogyny, and sexual humiliation.
Tasha, your response.
Oh gosh, it's someone that has deliberately gone out of her way to trigger people, and then she's got a response which is exactly what she wanted, and then she's gone, but you can't say anything mean to me because this is the race card, and this is what people are tired of. Narinder has done this. I've seen plenty of her tweets, and she insults people, and then she'll quickly go, oh, that person's being racist towards me. And, you know, she went on the Jeremy Vine show trying to defend herself, and Jeremy Vine only showed the tweets directed towards her. Now, I hate every type of racism, and of course there is no way that Narinder deserved any racism being thrown at her. She didn't. No one deserves that. But unfortunately, she has now used those few idiots that did say something like that as her defense, and she's used it as an excuse to get away with her own behavior. To say that it was about smoking, I'm sorry, I believe that was a complete and utter lie. She knows that Catherine has been undergoing chemotherapy. As I said, it's this rage baiting that people like her actually make money from, all of the engagements that she's got from her tweets and the arguments since, she has probably earns more money on Twitter for those tweets because you get paid for the engagement. And I find it, honestly, I'm trying so hard not to swear, but I've had people in my life that I've lost through cancer, and she knows exactly what she was doing. And there is no defense for it. She did it deliberately to get people angry and to get that engagement, and she's done it. As I said, she's appeared on lots of different channels, lots of news channels. She's possibly had her name written more in the newspapers and across social media than she ever had at the height of her career. And she got exactly what she wanted.
And back today, trying to say Meghan's the victim of racism, which let's be honest, that's the fundamental narrative here, isn't it? That is the fundamental narrative. It always comes back to our poor victim Meghan.
Of course. That's the final thing I want to say in it before I do lose my call. I can feel my blood pressure going up. But with her, with what she's done, she's gone on this trail of saying, I didn't mean my words to be taken the wrong way. It's not saying I'm sorry. It's I'm sorry that you took what I said the wrong way, which is very different from an actual apology. But then what she's done is she's actually retweeted people saying that Catherine doesn't have cancer. So she's tried to defend herself, saying people mistook what I said. Of course, I wasn't meaning anything by it. But then she's pushing this false story that Catherine didn't have cancer at all. And so it's,
and just to explain, because some people might not know where that all came from, what Narinder is doing is using an inaccurate report from Sly News. And shame on Sly News. They ran a report which suggested, it was a mistake, suggested that Catherine only had precancerous cells rather than cancer. Now, that has never been something that has been said. Sly News quietly deleted the clip, but of course, by that point, the damage is done. It's been picked up on by the Sussex squad, who say, oh, see, she never had cancer. And Narinder used that in part of her defense, effectively. But look, according to Taz, the YouTube sensation, I want to raise your blood pressure even more now by asking you about the Boots Christmas commercial, which Father Calvin Robinson has just told us on Outspoken is an example of anti-white racism. Now, there is a growing call for a boycott of Boots as a result of this, partly, of course, because Adjoa Ando, who is the star of the advertisement, she is a big actress who became most famous for her role in Bridgerton. But actually, the British public know her most, Tasha, because on the day of the King's coronation, a day which was meant to celebrate the incredible history that we were witnessing before our very eyes.
Yeah.
She decided to go on woke ITV with no pushback whatsoever from Tom Bradby and look at that balcony shot, that iconic balcony shot, and say it was an example of something that is terribly white.
Gone from the rich diversity of the Abbey to a terribly white balcony. I'm very struck by that. I'm also looking at those younger generations and thinking, what are the nuances that they will inhabit as they grow?
So, Tasha, that's the woman Boots has chosen to be the face of its Christmas coverage.
Myleene Klass's face when she said that, I don't know if it was just she had a moment or she actually took on board what she just said, but that was my face. Now, I was so shocked when this came out because obviously I was watching the coverage myself. And I'm a huge Bridgerton fan. I love Bridgerton, and Lady Danbury was one of my favourite characters. I love that show. I think it's absolutely brilliant. And I sat there open-mouthed because I am so sick of what seems to be happening under this label of being woke, but anti-white racism seems to be allowed. And I found that truly shocking. And when she appeared on this Christmas ad, I even said myself, I was like, I'm surprised that Christmas isn't too white for her. Because of all of the Christmas songs and, you know, Santa being a jolly fat white man, which honestly, I can't even think of the words to describe without getting myself into trouble here. But I cannot understand now why being racist towards white people is allowed, it's accepted. Because if anybody had been sitting there on TV and maybe it was the coronation of an African royal family and they said, gosh, they're terribly black, they would have been dragged over hot coals. They would have been
terribly
cancelled.
Thai or terribly Japanese.
Terribly Asian.
Yeah, it would
never anything like
ever
that.
happen. It would never
and it
happen.
happens we see it all the time, even with our football team. People are saying, oh, this just seems to be building and building, and I don't think racism is okay. And if you want to stamp out racism, you can't turn around and reward someone that's been quite openly anti-white racist on TV on one of the biggest events with the royal family that people around the world saw, and then she becomes the face of the Boots advert. I mean, I still love Bridgerton, I still love Lady Danbury, but I found that honestly shocking. And Boots deserve the boycott, because the only way that I feel the public ever get listened to now, the only way we can really truly be heard, is by boycotting, is by protesting. And
well, we saw it with Bud Light, didn't we? Bud Light and Dylan Mulvaney. But the thing is, it's not just about the choice of her, is it, Tasha? Even though it was very clear what they were doing, it's about the content of the ad too, which is very much like, oh, useless, fat, old Father Christmas. He doesn't actually do anything.
When you think that Christmas, really, when it's built up for children, isn't it? The excitement of Santa Claus or Father Christmas and the bringing the presents. Now, obviously, you've got the religious aspect of it. But when it comes to the Christmas ads and buying presents, it's that fun. It's about people coming together and family. And I am seeing Christmas being destroyed more and more and more. I mean, this isn't the first advert where they've been pretty much anti-Christmas and even anti-Christianity. You're seeing so much being changed under this umbrella of being woke. But what they're actually doing is destroying everything that makes Christmas Christmas. And I just find that terribly sad, and it's applauded by some. People, how can you be offended by Christmas, by Father Christmas, by Christmas lights, by Christmas presents and things? I personally cannot understand it.
No, I'm with you, Tasha. I am with you. Oh, goodness. You're not liking me today, though, are you? Because I've just so significantly increased your blood pressure. You were all calm.
You can see it. You can see my cheeks flushing. It's just so upsetting, obviously, with the whole Narinder thing, because I can't imagine how upsetting it is for Catherine yet again to be being dragged over something. The way she looks, and at the end, I'm the same age as Catherine, and she looks incredible for a 42-year-old woman.
Yeah, let alone someone who's just gone through 6 months chemotherapy. No, I know. I think they're the two big rage-ing stories of the week, aren't they?
You've rage-baited me, Dan. You've rage-baited
me. And Boots. But I hope I'm actually, what I'm doing is showing that the independent media now will report the truth about these situations, because the mainstream media just pretends that it's not going on. And of course, that is why you have to follow the brilliant According to Taz on YouTube for all the best royal analysis. So great to have you, Tasha. We'll speak very soon.
Thanks a lot, Dan. You take care. Take care. Bye.
Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source, and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.